Good afternoon. Happy Labor Day to you all that are watching on September the 4th, 2023. As always, my name is David Schlotthauer, and in today's video, we are watching Invest 95L very, very closely, as this could become our next major hurricane, possibly a Category 3 or greater, nearing the islands of the Virgin Islands as well as the southwestern Atlantic. Everyone needs to be paying close attention, as we are going to be breaking down all those details in this update. So here's the very latest 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook made by the National Hurricane Center as of September the 4th, 2023. And again, the area that we're really concerned about is Invest 95L, that is located 700 miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. So let's read the entire discussion, everyone, because this is pretty important and it's going to relate on what we are going to be seeing in days to come as this gets dangerously close to the islands of the Virgin in the southwestern Atlantic into the northeastern Caribbean. So satellite imagery indicates that an area of low pressure has formed from the tropical wave centered 700 miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. The low-level circulation has become better defined since yesterday, with increasing organization in the shower and thunderstorm activity. Environmental conditions are forecasted to become conducive for further development, and this system is expected to become a tropical depression or a tropical storm in a day or two. Additional strengthening is likely this week while the system moves westward to the west-northwest at 15 to 20 miles an hour over the central and western portions of the tropical Atlantic. For additional information on this system, including gale warnings, see high seas forecasts issued by the National Weather Service or your local officials. The formation chance is expected to be very high, 90% in the next 2 days and 100% chance in the next 7 days, which is exceptionally high, and you rarely see that with the 90 to 100%. That means they are that confident that this is going to become a tropical depression or a tropical storm in the next 7 days. If not, again, we could be looking at a hurricane within the next 5 or so days based on latest model data, and I will show you that here in a second when we get into our numerical model department. So this is a look at the latest true color visible satellite imagery from Dr. Levi Cowan's website. There will also be a link in the description below this video where you can visit that after this video. And what we have going on here is, again, 95L here. That is looking very organized. One could even argue that it's probably a tropical depression already. It has the characteristics, it has the organization that could meet the definition of a tropical depression. So it would not surprise me either by late tonight or early tomorrow morning, we could have a tropical depression on this, if not already Tropical Storm Lee. And I'll tell you what, wait until this gets designated from the NHC, and I'm sure they're probably going to put a Category 2 or 3 intensity in their first advisory, all in this area where I'm really, really confident that we could be dealing with something that we have not dealt with so far this Atlantic hurricane season, and could rival, and get ready for it, I don't like hyping this up, could rival the intensity potentially, and again, this is a 1 to 5% chance of this occurring, could get as strong, if not stronger, than, say, Irma or Maria. We'll have to wait and see on the latest models on that, but this is not looking very good, folks, and my job is to make sure you all are prepared for what could be to come. Even so, this does not impact the islands directly. If it's going to be a very strong major hurricane, then you could get some tropical storm force winds that barely scrape those islands of the Virgin and the Puerto Rico area. Right now, at this time, there is no chances for this to hit Jamaica or the Gulf Coast. Now, I'll show you that here more in a little bit. So this is a close and zoomed in view on Tropical Depression 95 not 95, Depression Invest 95L. See, I'm getting ahead of myself because, again, it looks so organized that, I mean, there's not much more to say, that it meets the definition of a depression. So we have a banding future here. We have several banding futures that are quickly organizing over here. So again, this is really, really close. I mean, probably a stone's throw away of becoming something. And again, it would be our next name, Storm Lee, on our list of names. And it's moving generally right now in this general west-northwesterly direction. So now looking at our numerical models, this is very concerning, and I'm not going to just show you the Euro. We're going to show you the GFS. We're going to show you the HWARF, the HMON, the HAFS A, and the HAFS B model runs too. So we got you covered from top to bottom in today's video to making sure you all not only learned something, but you could also get prepared for how strong this could end up being. Could this hit Bermuda? Could this hit the eastern seaboard? We will break down all those details in this portion of the video. So looking at the Euro model, 850 millibar wind plot map. This is my favorite layer that I like to look at. And I did illustrate this in yesterday's video, but for those that are new, that are just new to my channel, that are probably subscribing after watching this video, these are wind barbs. And let me kind of get the thinnest pin out here so you all can actually see that. So these are wind barbs that we like to look at, okay? And this shows us the wind direction on which way the wind is blowing from. So, and it's unfortunate that Dr. Levi Cowan has this plotted out. We should use arrows instead to give a better representation. But in meteorological terms, we use wind barbs to discern the intensity and direction of the wind. It really helps out a lot. And so we can see that the wind is doing this around the cyclone. And this is 84 hours out, by the way. This would be for Thursday afternoon and evening, September the 7th. And there is our cyclone. So that's our wind, and these barbs kind of illustrate which way our wind is blowing from. Okay, just pointing that out. And of course, these lines here are geopotential heights at 850 millibars, which is 5,000 feet above the atmosphere. And then the colors that you're seeing, these red, orange, yellow colors, indicate vorticity, how much spin there is. I'm going to try to fit this in camera. This is how much spin there is in the atmosphere. Okay, vorticity. After all, the atmosphere is in fluid form, so we can better illustrate that here in today's video, that vorticity is spin, cyclonically speaking. So this is for Friday morning, 96 hours out. This is September the 8th, by the way. And this is Saturday morning, September the 9th. This is 5 days out. And again, even so this does miss the islands for right now, okay, this could still trend further south. I really do not want to let my guard down yet and be like, okay, this is going to miss the islands. Good. That's a good thing if it misses the islands, all right? But there could still be some wiggle room here to the south, to the north, maybe a little faster, maybe a little slower, because again, this yet has to become a tropical depression and become a more organized, well-defined circulation where the models can better see this. So until that happens, we're going to still see this wiggle room happen for the time being. But it won't matter here. If this system gets strong enough, there could be near tropical storm force winds impacting some of the islands here. And for marine interests, this is, even so this does not impact land, anyone doing any boating or fishing or on a cruise, this is very important because there is going to be some high surf that emanate out of this. Big time wave action hitting the eastern seaboard, hitting Bermuda. So that is the also more important thing of this forecast is that we could see some very big wave action. This is day, all right, so that's day 5. This is day 6 for Sunday, September the 10th. This is day 7, roughly, September the 11th. And this is day 8. And my goodness, very, very strong cyclone here. I mean, even so it doesn't hit land, this could still make national headlines because this would be a major hurricane, if not even stronger than that. And I'm going to show you some model guidance that proves my point. In fact, why not? Now, since we looked at the Euro, now you all are wondering, how low is the pressure on this? All right, so the lowest the pressure can get here is potentially 917 millibars. And some of you are like, wow, that is substantial. Yeah, and it is on the euro that's being the most generous, showing 917 millibars. But wait a second, I found something even more stronger, and that's off of weathermodels.com that show that this system could even get stronger than that. Look at this, down to 913 millibars. And let me square that in and zoom in so you all can see that right there, 913 millibars. That is absolutely just sickening to even see and imagine on the Euro model, just going ballistic with this. Now, the chances of that occurring are very little, but it is a realm of possibility, especially when you see a global model that is not high resolution showing this. Really gets my attention in a hurry. And yes, there could be some rain bands that do impact some of these islands, even so you do not get the direct impact from, I'll just say it right now, Tropical Storm Lee, because it's going to probably be a tropical storm by this time tomorrow anyways, perhaps. So that's a look at that. Let's look at the GFS model, and this time we're going to use a different plot. We're going to use the moisture plot, and this shows us how much moisture there actually is going to be in the atmosphere, and there is going to be plenty of it. All these dark green colors indicate very rich moisture in the deep layers of the atmosphere. So going forward here, again, this is Saturday afternoon on the GFS model, September the 10th and the 11th. 9/11, which is September, this is September 10th. This is Sunday, and this is 9/11, since it's right there. 946 millibars, and then 955, and then getting close to Bermuda, perhaps in about 10 days. But there's a lot of wiggle room, everyone, on how this is still going to evolve, because the initial conditions could affect on where this heads. This could still get far enough to the west. This could get further east, and everything like that. Now, some of you were saying in yesterday's video that I didn't show the GFS, and the reason why I didn't is because it was our outlier. So if we go to the 12Z from yesterday, I believe that is, this got very close to the eastern seaboard. The 18Z literally wanted hitting Cape Hatteras, okay, as a potential major hurricane. All right, and then the 0Z, let's go back here, kept it offshore. And then let's see, the 06Z even further offshore, and this one kind of further or even further to the east. So the chances of this right now hitting the eastern seaboard probably decreasing, but again, if this goes far enough west or south in the initial conditions, and we could see the guidance relocate and recorrect towards a system that could get very close to the Bahamas and then kind of trail up the eastern seaboard potentially. So if we go back to the Euro and let's take a look at our steering pattern, I wanted to look at the 200 millibar map here, because this is very important at showing us what the winds are going to look like, and then we'll look at our hurricane models. I'm going to try to make this rather under 25-minute long video, but I'm afraid this is probably going to end up being that way, since there's a lot of information to kind of disguise. So the 200 millibar, this is what we call barotropic type winds at about 38,000 feet. And we can see very, very impressive outflow in all quadrants. There is no doubt that this is going to become a major hurricane because of the outflow in all quadrants that are just kind of going just everywhere around the system. And that is indicating to me that there's not going to be a whole lot of shear. And when we look at our shear map, I mean, there is not much going on at all, and that's why this system could really get going in a hurry. And like I said, man, those winds at 200 millibars, very, very strong, and it's going outward very quickly. Even the GFS indicates that that will actually happen within this favorable environment. Even those low-level or upper-level winds here exceeding over 110 knots, which is a major hurricane, all the way up to the top of the atmosphere. But this is not where we end it. We're looking at now our hurricane models, and then we're going to be looking at our spaghetti plots. Yes, spaghetti plots, because that is more important than itself. So we're going to start one by one, the HWARF first, then the HMON, then the HAFS A, then the HAFS B. Let's go forward. So this is 24 hours out. So the HWARF model thinks that this could become a strong tropical storm in 24 hours, which is certainly a possibility, but probably an unlikely scenario because it assumes that a intercore structure is forming right now with 34 knot winds. But it doesn't surprise me at the same time. So we just have to wait and see with what all happens here. But if this comes true in 36 hours out, we could have a hurricane here. The purple there kind of demises where hurricane force winds actually are. Central pressure 986 millibars. And then it really intensifies in about 4 days. We could have a major hurricane with 116 knot winds. That's right up here, you all. You can't miss it at all. And then going further out, it levels off. It doesn't continue to intensify, but that could be generous. Wait until you see the HMON, the HAFS A, and the HAFS B, which are just going ballistic with this. But either way, this would be a major hurricane, possibly a Category 3 and 4 hurricane within the next 5 days. So we cannot ever discount how strong this could actually become. The HMON model on Invest 95L, this is the 12Z guidance, and again, it assumes in 36 hours we have a hurricane here. By the way, it also assumes that by tonight we could have a strong tropical storm. If that even happens, I will be very shocked, and this could be a whole different ball game. And then by the time we go out to day 3, this is September the 7th, for Thursday morning, 959 millibars with winds that support Category 3 intensity, and then eventually going all the way up to 128 knots, around that 7 up to 0, that's 129 knots. That would be a mid to high-end Category 4 hurricane, and then perhaps approaching that criteria by the very end of the model. And that is 928 millibars. That is very substantial. I mean, that is a big deal when you look at that. So that's the HMON model, and this is out again to 5.5 days. Notice the islands do not appear here, and that's because we don't see a landfall at this given range yet. But again, this trends further south, then we could be looking at something. This is now the HAFS A model, which is kind of, there's two halves of this, the HAFS A and B. This is one of them. And going forward, this assumes that it takes longer for this to organize. This is probably the more likely outcome scenario, but it wouldn't mean that this does not become a major hurricane. By day 4, by Friday, September the 8th, this could still become a hurricane for sure with 978 millibars. And eventually, towards the end of the model run, possibly a major hurricane with winds that could support Category 3 or 4 intensity. So all of the models here, and I'm showing you scientific proof, everyone, that this is going to be a big deal. The HAFS B is the most bullish model. Wait until you see this. So again, this takes a little longer for it to get better organized with hurricane force winds potentially in about 3 days, 982 millibars. But look at this. By day 4, it becomes a major hurricane. So goes literally from a Cat 1 to a Cat 3 or 4, which is pretty significant. And then by day 5, we could be looking at a Category 5 hurricane with winds of 141 knots, perhaps getting even stronger than that, 143 knots, which would certainly meet the criteria of a Category 5 with winds that are over 160 to 165. Even so, this doesn't impact land. This could grab a lot of people's attention for shipping interests, people that are on boats or cruise liners, and people that fly on aircraft. This is nothing to ignore just yet, even so it doesn't impact the islands directly, at least for now. Don't quote me on that. From the Euro, okay, this is not no hurricane model, and look at down here. Look at how strong this could become. Possibly 120 miles an hour, 133 mile an hour winds, and 135 mile an hour winds. Again, that's generous given like what we've just seen, maybe a Category 5 hurricane. So this is something on our bucket list we really have to watch, and I am not going to ignore it for that reasoning, okay? So let's take a look now at our intensity guidance here. I'm going to zoom this all in when I edit my video so you all can see this. is most of the models here of the 18Z output show this definitely a major hurricane. All right, I'm not joking, category 3 or greater. Some of the models want this as a high-end Cat 4, and maybe there's just one of those models that wants this at a Cat 5. So there is a pretty high ceiling for this between a Cat 3 to a Cat 5. And so therefore, my intensity forecast is pretty straightforward. I am going to be fairly generous with this, and I'm going to give this a major hurricane intensity with winds right now at 115 to 120 miles an hour. I'm not jumping the gun yet at a category 4 yet, even so most of the model guidance does suggest that we need a little bit more model data to see if this is actually going to have that. But if I could use just raw model data and base it off of that, this has the potential of becoming a catastrophic category 4, if not a category 5 hurricane. This is a look at the spaghetti plot, very tightly clustered, so there is a likelihood for the time being that this does not impact land. But I want to make it clear, do not use this map to make decisions. Please seek official info. That's coming from Dr. Levi Cowan. So make sure you all do that because, again, spaghetti plots are not your forecast, and we just cannot rely on those 100%. So this is a look at the latest ensemble forecast from the Euro. This is in 5 days. Again, showing most of the members indicating a hurricane at this point, certainly possibly a major hurricane. But let's go out to now day 7 and look at this. Most of the members do indicate that this will become a major hurricane on its Euro ensemble forecast. And some of these want this down to 910 millibars. 907 millibars. That is very extreme. 912 hidden in there. Ooh, there are some extreme outputs here from the Euro ensemble that this could be a really big deal. And you can see all through here, potentially a major hurricane intensity cannot be ruled out. Now, while the ensemble does not show any impacts here on the Virgin Islands, there is some of these members that want it further west that we cannot ignore. So maybe the Bahamas here, but no members do not indicate that this is going to hit Florida, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, or even, say, Cuba, as well as the eastern seaboard. Now, looking at the GEFS model ensemble forecast, this is why, again, we're not going to discount our possible outcomes. There is a couple of models here that do indicate that there could be a landfall within these islands of the Virgin as well as Puerto Rico. And this model in particular does not indicate that this would become a major hurricane on the GFS, which is a little bit surprising given the Euro is just being bullish at this point, and which is our more conservative model. I think the GFS is probably not seeing this system as good, but again, a category 2 or a category 3 is certainly a very likelihood at this point. Even so, I'm hyping this up. There's just more than enough model guidance to support that this is going to become at least some sort of hurricane. If that's Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, 4, or 5, it really won't matter a whole lot because this is probably going to be making a lot of headlines in days to come. Now, to wrap things up, just doing a quick overview, we talked about Invest 95L. That is going to be a vicious monster in roughly 5 to 7 days on the approach here to the islands. To make this, to make sure I'm clear with that, again, 90 to 100% chance of that developing according to the latest NHC. I really want you all to share this with your family and friends on social media. Please get the word out. We are not discounting anything right now that this is going to avoid the islands. This could still make a run for it. We saw that with Irma. We saw that with Maria, how they would miss the islands, but last minute differences in the models led that this was going to impact the islands. So again, I'm not ignoring this, folks, and we really need to watch the latest model guidance. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Share, like, and subscribe, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow with another update on this area of interest. Maybe a double header too, so keep that in mind. We might be doing 2 videos a day on this if necessary.